Now to Washington, where top representatives of some 60 countries have gathered for a US-led summit on Middle East peace in Warsaw. Not in attendance, the French and German foreign ministers, highlighting the transatlantic divide over the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, which Washington abandoned last year. A scheduling clash means the EU's top diplomat Federica Mogherini is another notable absence. Well, for more insight on the Warsaw summit and what it could mean for Tehran, I'm now joined by journalist Nega Motasavi in Washington, D.C. Well, good evening to you. Thanks so much for joining us on the programme. Well, Iran's foreign minister was pretty crystal clear about what he thought about this summit, and he said it was dead on arrival. Why such a harsh response?
Well, this was first perceived to, and still is, to be an anti-Iran summit, and it seemed like the U.S. even backtracked on its agenda because of the opposition of major European powers, like you mentioned, and still, whereas the agenda was sort of broadened to a general Middle East peace, it still seems like from the rhetoric of the attending, it seems like it is still going to have a very heavy influence on Iran. And it's notable that Iran has not been invited to the conference despite the presence of so many other countries. And it is called a Middle East Peace Conference, but the Palestinians even have not been invited, whereas the Trump administration seems to have grand agendas for the Israeli-Palestinian peace program. So overall, I think this is more of a show of force of the United States to its major allies who've been basically breaking away from them as far as exiting the nuclear deal and the sanctions happened here.
And several European nations were also notable for their absence, weren't they? What kind of impact is that expected to have?
Well, I think the Americans probably didn't expect their closest allies to show such a public opposition to this conference, even after they broadened their agenda. And it just seems like that opposition or the disagreement between the Trump administration and its European allies still exists, because the Europeans have been insisting that the nuclear deal was successful, it was working, the Iranians are abiding by it according to UN reports, and that this could be a basis for building on more negotiations. And despite that, the Trump administration tried to pull that, and it seems like they're trying to pull the Europeans together with them out of this deal and haven't been successful yet. Like you said, Federica Mogherini has stood strong by the deal and other leaders. And I don't think this conference is also going to have a very successful outcome as far as that direction, the United States trying to pull Europeans to its position. But it's definitely going to increase the anti-Iran rhetoric among America's allies, at least in the region.
Okay, well, thanks so much for bringing us your insight, Nega Motasavi in Washington.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Euronews Tonight. We leave you now with a no comment from North Macedonia, where a NATO flag was raised outside the main government building as the country's name formally changed.